Welcome to Guitar Center. I'm here today with Steve Fisher. Thanks for tuning in. Steve Fisher from Roland. And today we're going to talk about V-drums and some cool Guitar Center promotions we have going on. So Steve, what are we going to be talking about today?
Mariano, I'm going to talk about some really cool stuff. First of all, we're going to talk about the TD4 KP V-Drums Portable. It's a great drum set. You're enjoy seeing that. We're also going to talk about hybrid sets, too. How you can make a hybrid set. What is a hybrid set? All the cool things you can do with making a hybrid set to make some really interesting sounds on your own. And if that weren't enough, we got megastar, the drummer of all drummers, Mr. Greg Bissonette.
Awesome. So while you guys watching at home, please feel free to type in your questions, and we'll try to answer them throughout the show. So let's get started with the Roland TD4 KP.
And this is the TD4 KP right in front of me. It's a great drum set, as you saw in the video, but let me do a little explaining about the TD4 KP. And I can describe the TD4 KP in 3 words. It's powerful, it's playable, and it's portable. It's powerful because it uses our TD4 percussion sound module. Well over 100 sounds, 25 drum kits. You can actually make up your own drum sets, own custom drum sets, put any sound on any pad. It also has ambient effects. You can get big ambiances. You can also do some sound editing, so you can take those sounds and just make them your own. Create custom kits. It's also loaded with a lot of great and unique features that I'll explain in just a moment, too. Besides the powerful part, which again is the TD4 percussion sound module with all those dynamic and expressive sounds, it's very playable. And that's a key thing. You want to buy a drum set that is playable, and this thing does it. The natural feeling gum rubber pads. We also have the cymbal pads, and they're dual trigger. Check it out. Also, nice, smooth, closed open hi-hat. Let's take a listen to just one of the drum sets. You get the idea. Very expressive and very dynamic. Now, don't think that all electronic drum sets sound the same, because they don't. Only V-drums sound like this with all the expressiveness and all the dynamic range that's there. So definitely check out things like, for example, the hi-hat, smooth, closed open. Only Roland really does hi-hats really well. So definitely check out for that. The other thing, though, too, as far as the one thing I mentioned is the fact that it has some unique features, and this is no different in here with the TD4 KP, because we have features like the coach mode, the rhythm coach, and things like quick record, quick play. Now, these are great features to build your drumming skills. Show you an easy one is the quick record, quick play. A lot of times you have ideas, or maybe you play some lick, you're playing late at night, and you think, wow, that was an awesome lick. How did I do that? You know, and you do it, and the next morning you wake up and you can't remember how to do it. Well, if you use quick record, quick play, you'll remember what you did. Check this out. Just hit the record button, and I'm ready to go. That was my Greg Bissonette impersonation right there. Did you like that? I learned that from him in college. I've had that lick going for years. Anyways, that's quick record, quick play. Here's a fun thing, though, too, is the coach mode. The rhythm coach actually is a series of exercises that challenges your drumming skills and actually help you get to be a better drummer faster. And isn't that why you practice anyway? It's so you can get better. And if you get better faster, would you do it? I say yes. And that's because of the coach mode in here. I'm going to show you just one of the many modes that's in here, and it's called time check. What time check allows you to do is actually go in, and you can just play a regular groove, and the time check visually will tell you if you're playing on the beat, ahead of the beat, or behind the beat. Now, an added feature, I've got it set up so it's just going to play for 8 bars, and it's actually going to give me a score, percentage of on the money notes that I got there, the ones that are right in time. So again, it's great. It challenges you. It gets you fixed on developing that internal clock that you've got. Check this out. Here we go. 2-bar count in, and then it's going to start gauging me. Whoa, look at that. A score of 75. I guess I need to practice more, and the rhythm coach is here to help me do it too. Isn't that awesome? The rhythm coach, again, a lot of great features that's on the TD4 KP. Now, if you want to play along with songs, that's easy to do too. Take your iPad or any external audio source, plug it into the mix-in, and then through your headphones or through your speaker, you can actually hear that sound source and your drums at the same time. Hours and hours of fun practicing with the TD4 KP. Now, I mentioned it was powerful, playable, and portable. I didn't cover the portable part yet, because this is really exciting. This is the TD4 KP all folded up. I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, that's amazing. And it is amazing. You can take this drum set and fold it up and take it with you. It's what we like to say, it's for drummers on the go. Let's say you're going to practice in the morning, and let's say, for example, you've got going to go to a friend's project studio, do some sequencing and things like that, maybe in the afternoon, and then you're going to play a coffee house gig later in the afternoon or something. You can do that too. There's even an optional carrying bag for it too, so you can take it anywhere you want to go. Now, besides those drummers on the go, there's also those drummers in trouble, like that lost their driver's license, that maybe need to start taking public transportation, or let's say you get kicked out of your girlfriend's house or your boyfriend's house. Well, instead of just taking the snare drum and bass drum pedal, you can actually take your whole drum set with you as soon as you leave. And it's great to be able to have that capability, isn't it? It's also great from an education purpose, too. Well, let's say, for example, you're going to do some group instruction, and you want to set up several V-drum sets at the same time, but you don't want to dedicate a room to doing that. You're going to use the TD4 KP. Because what you end up being able to do then is when you're done giving your lessons, you fold up each drum set and you put them off in the corner or in a closet. Same thing if you're at home and you don't have enough room for your drum set with all your other stuff in your room. You practice your drums, and when you're done practicing it, fold up the TD4 KP and put it away somewhere. So the TD4 KP is awesome, the portability, but again, I mentioned it's also powerful and it's also playable. Cool stuff. Huh, Mariano?
Yeah, that was awesome. Thanks for showing us that. That was a really cool unit. Let me tell you guys about some of the promotions we're doing at Guitar Center with the TD4 KP. In this month, we're offering a $150 value added to the TD4 KP, which is a pedal juice. The pedal juice by Sanyo will power this unit for up to 10 hours. So it'll truly make this drum set portable. So let's say you're a street performer, you want to go play on Venice Beach. Totally cool. You take this drum set, you take a little portable amp, and you're good to go. This pedal juice will power 2 units. As you can see, there's 2 jacks right there. This is available at GuitarCenter.com and also at Guitar Center. just come by the store or hit us up on guitarcenter.com and take advantage of this great deal, $150. Cool. So, and now we're going to have the amazing Greg Bissonette will take the TD4KP for a spin and show us really everything that he can do. So, Greg.
Thank you, Mario.
Hey, buddy.
Mariano.
Hey.
Argentiniano.
That's right.
All right. Thank you, brother.
Go for it.
I'm on my way to Venice Beach. Can I borrow that?
No way. It's
Oh,
mine.
man, that's my gig today. All right. Well, Steve, that was great. Thank you for that great demo. And let me tell you something. I've known Steve Fisher a long time. We went to the same college, although when I was a sophomore, he was a senior checking out North Texas State. But then we were both alumni of Maynard Ferguson's band. Steve is a world-class drum set and percussionist. And let me tell you, I knew he was on that time check example. He was slowing down and speeding up a little bit so you could see how it clocks it. He'd get 100% if he was real trying, and I know that. So let me go over here to sound number 15. And this is a style from Jamaica. Let's see if the folks at home can guess what style that would be from Jamaica. The samba, right? No, it's not the samba, it's reggae. We're gonna do some reggae. And I can't echo anymore what Steve said about powerful and playable and portable. I mean, the way that this TD4KP shows folds up, it's just amazing. So let's do a little reggae. Okay, next, I'm gonna move over to one of my favorite drum sounds here, a big arena drum sound. Lots of room mics on the drums, a la John Bonham. All we're missing is a harmonica. Okay, next, I want to show you the brush sounds in here. We're going to go to number 10 to the brush sound. And then we're going to go over here to number 24, to the 808 sound. And then I'm going to take you back to the 80s with number 23, just one away. Science. And then we're going to end up with one of my favorites, number 12. This is just, it's labeled or named tight, but it's nice, tight drum sounds. Again, with the tuning, with the muffling, you can get it even less ringing, and you can get it even tighter than this. But I'm just going to play a little bit to end up here with this tight sound, number 12.
Wow, awesome. That was great. Great. Hey, now.
Hey.
Dangerous.
I want that Venice Beach.
We'll
pack.
talk about it.
Come on.
Go to guitarcenter.com. We'll take care of
Okay.
you. There you go. All right, so stick around because Greg is going to do some more playing later on. So don't tune away. We got more information coming on. In fact, we just had a question come in about the TD4 KP, and we want to have Steve kind of answer it if we can. The question from online was, is the TD4 KP available in left-handed version, or can a left-handed player be able to switch it over so they can perform on it?
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Left-handed players can play. There's a way that you can actually swap it around, and we actually make an extra part that you can also order for the bass drum, so the bass drum is actually on your left side, so the clamp is there. So yes, the answer is absolutely yes.
Very cool. And another question I saw that came in online was, could you make the hi-hat controller into a bass drum and play double bass on that kit?
Yep, you sure can. You can assign a bass drum sound. Like I mentioned, you can make your own custom kits.
Absolutely.
You can put any sound on any pad, so you could put a bass drum sound on the hi-hat and actually make it a double bass kit too.
So we're going to move on to kits. So Steve's going to show us some really cool things you can do with electronics and acoustic drums at the same time. So let's hear it.
You got it, Mariano.
All right, buddy.
Hybrid sets. They're really popular these days, and the pros have been using them for years. And why is that? Simply because it starts to add more sounds and creative sounds to your drum sounds, is what it does. Not only that, but especially for live playing, a lot of drummers trigger their acoustic drums because the sound is consistent every single night. So hybrid sets are a really cool thing. Again, it's wide open. There's a lot of different ways you can make hybrid sets. And Roland has all the different options to make tons of great hybrid sets in whatever kind of configuration you'd like to do. Let's start off with the basics, though. What is a hybrid set? What the heck is that thing? Well, it's pretty easy. It's actually, you've got your set of acoustic drums, and you have a sound source, like a sound module, and then you have your pads and or acoustic drum triggers. So those are the three things you need to make a hybrid set. It's pretty simple. But there's actually a lot of variations you can do within all those different options there. As far as sound sources go, let's talk about those really quick. Two popular ones that a lot of drummers go to, one of which is our SPD30. And I've got an SPD30 right here sitting next to me. It's our Octapad, and it also is loaded with the new version 2, which you can get free online on the Roland website. The other thing, too, though, is an SPD-SX. It's also another popular one, too. The reason why they're popular is because they have auxiliary trigger inputs. So besides the pads that are on the unit itself, in this case, the Octapad has 8, in the back panel, there's actually 4 dual trigger inputs plus a hi-hat jack. So I can actually have 4 pads or any combinations of pads, pedals, things like that connected to the Octapad itself. The SPD-SX actually has 2 dual trigger inputs, so I can add 2 pads to that or 2 acoustic drum triggers, whichever. So you can expand the SPD-SX or expand the SPD-30 in this case. Now it comes to adding pads. There's tons of options. I'm sorry, let's go back one question, because someone's going to probably ask this. What's the difference between the SPD-30 and the SPD-SX? That's pretty simple. Actually, the SPD-30 has 670 sounds built in, ready to go. They're pristine sounds from all over the world. You'd have to go through some serious sample libraries to find these great authentic instruments. They're hard to find instruments, and they're played beautifully with all the articulations. That's all in there. Digital effects, not only that, but there's also a phrase loop creator, so you can actually make your own loops out of the sounds that are in the SPD-30. Now, the SPD-SX, on the other hand, is the world's only sampling percussion pad. So it's a sampler. So you can put whatever sounds you want to in that. You can put in loops, put in single sounds, unique sounds. Actually, you can put in tons of stuff in there because it has 2 gigabytes of internal memory, which equates to 6 hours of sampling time. And that's a lot of sampling time. So those are the differences between the SPD-30 and the SPD-SX. And now remember, I was talking about those dual trigger inputs there in the back of those pieces, as well as, for example, our other TD sound modules too, which I failed to mention as far as sound sources go, because you've got the TD11, you've got the TD15, and you also have the TD30 modules as well. And those obviously have trigger inputs, and you can use those as your sound source. Let's go back to the pads, though. There's a lot of different pads you can connect to all these sound sources. Depends on what size you want and what you want to do. We've got a whole host of V pads that we've got, the mesh trigger pads from the PDX6 all the way up to the PD128 pads. Not only that, but also cymbal pads. Tons of V cymbals and V hi-hats. They're all there, all the different sizes, things like that. There's even the kick triggers too, from a little KD7, little portable KD7, all the way up to the big KD140 14-inch kick trigger. So there's a lot of options there to be able to add to those trigger inputs. And of course, the BT1, the new BT1, which I'll explain in just a moment too. The other thing you can connect in there too is the acoustic drum triggers. It's our RT series acoustic drum triggers. And there's actually a RT10S, a T, and a K. One's for the snare, it's dual trigger, one's for the tom, and one's for the kick drum. Right here in front of me, I got this beautiful DW set that's here, and I've got an RT10K on the kick, and I've got an RT10S on the snare, the dual trigger snare trigger. And what's great about that is what the acoustic drum triggers do is they turn actually your acoustic drum into like a drum pad. Because the basics of it is what it's doing is when you hit the drum, that energy goes to the drum trigger, and then that drum trigger creates a signal that then goes to the sound source and then triggers the sound. And of course, just like having a pad there, I can select any sound I want to have to be triggered. Now, the great thing about the Roland RT series drum triggers, they use our V-Drums triggering technology, and they're really easy to use too. I have one right here. I mean, I can simply show you. I just pulled it off here, got it sitting in my hand, and I simply just take the drum trigger. There it is, and it's also kind of neat too. You can see the little foam triggering cone that's right there. So the foam triggering cone works just like the V-pads. You got that foam triggering cone, and it cushions, it just rides on the head and picks everything up. But I simply just put it on the hoop of the drum, and I've got a little thumb screw in the back. I screw it on there, and I'm good to go. I can start triggering. Here's a cool thing, though. I'm actually going to play this drum kit, and it sounds great. Of course, it's DW. It's going to sound great. And I'm going to turn the sound source off. So let's hear the acoustic drums without any electronic sounds. Let's add the electronic sounds to it. Not only that, but it triggers really well too. Check this out. See how that works. Now I got my BT1 over here as my hi-hat. I can make a full little drum set out of this. Check this out. Get the idea. Now, what's great about triggering your acoustic drums, and of course the addition of some other pads and stuff, is that you can make your acoustic drum set sound different on every single song because you're changing all the sounds up. So for example, I just played a regular acoustic drum set. I was emulating acoustic drum sounds. But let's say, for example, you're playing in a band and you're going to play a ballad. Of course, a ballad, you want a big, deep snare drum, and you want a lot of reverb, and instead of depending on the sound guy to supply all the reverb, you've got all those great digital effects in the SPD30. So I just switched kits, and there's my ballad kit with a big snare drum with lots of reverb. Take a listen. Not only that, let's say you want to do something really different, and you want to play more dance-oriented music. Now for that, you typically want some drum machine sounds, and of course, being Roland, all the TR-808, 909, CR-78, you name it, it's all in the SPD30, so I can trigger those sounds too. Get the idea? It's really cool that you can change your sound so dramatically by doing that, just easily with the drum triggers on there. One of the things that's really cool about, as far as triggering drums, like I said, you can make it sound different all the time. But what's neat about this is, why the pros use our gear is because they work every time, and they're durable. That's the thing. As far as triggering acoustic drums, you need good gear to make the stuff sound good. I mean, if you go low budget, that's where you're going to end up with. Because triggering drums is not easy, but we make it easy at Roland. So if you want the best results, you got to buy the best gear. That's all it takes right there. And what we're going to do we're going to go to the BT1, because I told you I was going to talk about the new BT1, and we got a video to explain the BT1, and I'll be back to show you a little more about that one.
The BT1 Bar Trigger Pad, a new trigger pad from Roland. It's a perfect solution for triggering additional sounds or control useful functions from Roland V-Drum's sound modules and SPD series percussion pads, such as stop-start of backing songs and phrase loops, effects on-off, kit selection, and more. Its compact and unique curve-shaped design provides flexible and comfortable positioning in any setup and easily attaches to the hoop of most V-Drum's V-pads or acoustic drums, as well as to a standard rod-type mount with the included attachment parts. The internal design eliminates false triggering due to crosstalk while playing surrounding drums or pads. Like other V-Drums pads, the BT1 allows you to trigger sounds with dynamics and expressiveness. For V-Drums users, the BT1 makes it simple to incorporate additional triggers without having to add more pads. For acoustic drummers, it offers an easy and affordable way to integrate electronics to make a hybrid kit. With a new BT1 bar trigger pad, you can expand your drumming playability and musical creativity.
That's the BT1, and I've got a couple of them right here on my setup. One of the great things, again, mentioning about the BT1, is it's great to add it to your acoustic drum set or your electronic drum set. I mean, it's perfect. For example, you just want to add a pad to play cowbell, tambourine, hand claps. I mean, it doesn't make sense to have a pad this big for a cowbell. So the BT1 fits perfectly in that. And like the video also mentioned, if you're going to use an SPD series percussion pad or a TD sound module, you can use the BT1 to not only trigger sounds, but control functions like selecting which patch you want to play and turning effects on and off and triggering loops and things of that nature. So it can do functions as well as trigger sounds. The other thing with the BT1 it also mentioned is the flexible mounting options, because you can integrate it into your set very easily. Now, of course, it comes with the hardware, so you can use a standard L-rod type mounting system like I've got over here, but you can also mount it to your acoustic drum or your Roland V pad. It mounts very easily right to the hoop of the drum. You simply take out the tuning lug, put the BT1 there, put the tuning lug back in, tension your drum, and you're good to go. Now, the cool thing about doing that, though, is the fact that when you do add them to your drums, just adding them to the drums itself onto the rims, you don't need any additional hardware to add them to your set. So you're not having to try to put stands in there and configure stands and boom stands and all that stuff. It literally just goes right on the drums. Actually, you're going to see Greg's got his TD30 KV set here. In just a moment, you're going to hear him play. And he's got the BT1s attached right to the pad, so he didn't have to alter his setup at all to include 4 more triggers onto that drum set. So the BT1s are really cool. The other thing that the video mentioned too, you might think, boy, attaching it to the drum, if you hit the snare drum, isn't that going to trigger the BT1? The answer is, let me guess, no, it's not. The reason why it's not going to, because the advanced triggering technology that we have with our V-drums. First of all, the BT1 itself actually has 2 piezo triggers on the top. So it's even and smooth triggering no matter where you play the bar pad. So there's not a hot spot. You're not going to hit it wrong and have the sound too low or too loud. Not only that, but there's a sensor sheet that's underneath that. What that allows us to do is it's only going to trigger a sound when you actually hit the BT1 and not by the vibration of the drum. So that's really cool. That allows you to attach it to the rims of your drum. So besides the crosstalk, I'm actually going to show you the difference as far as the crosstalk goes. Now I've got a kit here that's set up. I've got the BT1 assigned to sound, and I've got the snare drum also here, and you're going to hear the difference between the crosstalk here, and there's none. Now, as a matter of fact, you remember I mentioned the RT10 snare trigger is dual trigger? Well, I'm going to show you that isolation as well, because it's complete isolation between playing the head of my snare drum and the rim using the RT10S. Check this out, between the 3 of them. Sounds like a cartoon, doesn't it? It's fun. And then using acoustic drum triggers, you can assign any sound to any drum. For example, I can have my bass drum do this. I mean, you can think of all sorts of creative ways when you start making hybrid sets, and Roland has all those options. I'll play you one last little sequence here with the SPD30. And I've got my 2 bar trigger pads, they're here, in 2 inputs. And the other 2 inputs, I have my acoustic kick and my acoustic snare. So I'm filling up all 4 of the dual trigger inputs that's in the back. Here we go. Interpretive dance for us? Yeah, let's widen that camera shot. Let's let Mariano do a little interpretive. Come on, Mariano, here we go. Here we go. Go, Mariano, go. And there you have it. It's the BT1 and our cool little hybrid set here. Mariano. I was waiting for that special dance.
I can't dance to that stuff. You know me. So that was awesome. That was great stuff. You know, just seeing all that stuff kind of comes together. You know, but just you know, I have a question myself. I see all this stuff kind of happening. It sounds amazing, but you know, I know you're the Roland's expert. You know, and you can kind of make everything work. But for a regular folk at home, you know, the guys watching at home and going like, well, you know, yeah, this is how easy is it to, or how hard is it to put it all together?
Good question, Mariano. It is very easy to do. As I mentioned about the RT series drum triggers, acoustic drum triggers that I've got, and any of the Roland pads, for example, like let's say a BT1 or you buy a PD8, what I simply did, especially with a snare trigger, because triggering acoustic drums seems to be a little bit of a science, but it's not anymore. I simply took the output from the trigger and plugged it into the, one of the dual trigger inputs in the back. And I simply then, when told the SPD30, it says, what trigger type are you using? And I simply dialed RT10S snare, and all the setup is right there, and it works perfectly right out of the box. The only thing from there I need to do is select what sound I want to trigger. It's that easy.
Wow. So it's easy. Even a drummer can do it. Oh.
Even a drummer.
Oh. Excellent. So I just want to touch base on what we have at Guitar Center, at guitarcenter.com, all the items that you saw Steve play just now, the SPD30 pad, the RT series triggers, and the really, really cool brand new BT1, all available at Guitar Center stores and guitarcenter.com. Also, if you have any issues trying to figure out how to put it all together, just come see us at the store. We have our drum experts who will help you customize your kit, and you can build your own hybrid kit. You can add just one little thing, or you can add it all. Whatever you want to do, we got it. We can help you with that. So we're going to move it right along. We're going to have Steve and Greg are going to talk about the BT1 incorporated onto the TD30 kit, which is just an amazing kit. So, Steve, take it away.
Thanks, Mariano. Appreciate it. Thank you. I'm here with my good buddy Greg Bissonette. You're the best.
No, I would have been dancing. I don't know, Mariano. Come on, that was danceable.
Should have had you dance. One of the things we got Greg here with his TD30 KV. And as I mentioned before, what we have is we've got the BT1s added to the TD30 KV. And he's got 4 of them, because on the TD30 KV, after just the regular setup, there's 4 auxiliary trigger inputs. So Greg actually added a BT1 and a snare, one on tom 1, one on tom 2, and one on tom 3. So he's got all those inputs filled up. The great thing is again, he didn't have to alter his setup. He just added the BT1s, and now he's got 4 more sound sources to be able to play a lot more sounds and be much more creative with doing that. Greg, you ready to play a few sets for us?
Ready to play, Steve.
Awesome. Knock
Thanks,
it out.
Buddy. That was great what you did there.
Thanks.
So before I play any of these grooves, I'm just going to show you the sounds we've got. And then on the bar trigger pads. So let's just have fun with that. This is Studio Latin, it's called. Next, we're going to go over to a jazz. Let me show you what swinging this program here. Number 3 up here is. And then cross stick. And 3 different cowbells I've got assigned here right now. Next, we're going to play 3 bar trigger pads here that you might recognize some of these sounds, or at least these intervals. A song from my teenage years. Next, we're going to go to kind of a drum and bass vibe here. Here's what the bar trigger pads have. Well, here's the regular mesh heads, and here's the bar trigger pads. All right, next we're going to go to some djembe sounds with metallic sounds on the bar trigger pads. And then we're going to go over here. Dancing now. A little widescreen on the Mariano man. Come on. Come on, come on. Mariano. Come on, come on. The Rolands will make you dance, Mariano. letting me do that, guys.
No, that's great. That's great.
He's a
Awesome.
pretty good dancer, actually.
He is a good dancer.
People aren't looking. Then they get the camera on him, he stops dancing.
He's a fine
He's
dancer.
a fine dancer. Well, the whole way up.
Greg, thanks for sharing that with us. That's really cool to add all the different sounds and things like that.
Thank you, Steve. Thanks for inviting me.
A couple things I'd like to ask you. We've got a little bit of time here.
Yeah.
One of the things I'd like to ask you is, one of the main questions I know we've been getting is importance of electronics with drummers these days. Can you talk a little bit about that?
That is a great question because in contemporary music these days, you can't have just one or the other. A guitar player, does he just bring his acoustic guitar to the gig, to the rehearsal, to the recording session? Or does he bring, or he or she bring their acoustic and electric guitars to the practice, the recording session, the gig? Well, they bring both. They bring their acoustic guitar and their electric guitar. So we as drummers, we need to have as our arsenal acoustic drums and Roland electronic drums. I think also there's things you can do, talking about teaching or going to drum clinics or learning. Over on the TD4 KPs, we had the modes that Steve talked about with quiet count, where you can play and quiet count really checks your time, and jumping back in on loops and things like that. There's times, it's the day of 2013, you got to be able to play well with a click track. And to play well with the click track, what better training than to have the quiet count, where you can do an 8-bar phrase, have 6 bars of a groove, and then play on your own with no click for 2 bars and hope that you're close or on the money to when you start that loop with your bar trigger pad. Also, time check, which Steve so well showed here. You have to be able to know when you're in the studio, are you with the click? Are you right dead on where it says good over here? Or are you behind the beat or ahead of the beat? You have to know, because when you're playing with loops, and this is the ideal situation, everything we've got here is just so ideal. And Roland is just the best, and you can't go just one or the other. You need to have both, and so I'm so honored to be with Roland.
Thanks, Greg. You sound a little excited about it, too.
I'm a little excited about it,
But like you mentioned, too, like the quiet count and things like time check and things like that.
Yeah.
It's true, because guys that just have metronomes, just because you play with a metronome doesn't mean you're playing in time.
'Cause you can follow it,
I can
right?
stand next to the Porsche outside, but it doesn't mean it's mine.
Yeah.
It's just, So,
Yeah, I agree.
So case in point with you saying that it really checks you, and you really know for sure, are you really playing in time? And even things like, I noticed too that, I've always been a fan of your groove.
Oh,
your groove
buddy,
is so awesome,
thank
especially
you.
when you play like a slow blues thing. You got that snare drum just sitting in the back seat doing
Oh,
that.
thank you, Steve.
And that's cool to be able to watch that. And you can actually see your snare drum being laid back a little bit. You can visually see it.
Yeah,
Kind of thing.
and what Steve said is so true. You can play with a metronome and you can play with a click, but there's a difference between being in the click and just following a click. And that's what quiet count does. There's for those last 2 bars, or say you've got a 16-bar groove and you play 14 bars with the click and then you drop it out for 2, you better lock into where it is for those 14 bars, because you're not going to be able to follow anything for those other 2 bars. You just have to hope and pray that you're with it. So that's where it's better than a metronome.
Yeah, and just for your viewers out there, just to clarify, there's the mode that Greg is talking about is called quiet count. And what
Quiet
it does,
count, yeah.
quiet count actually will play the metronome for a specified number of bars. Let's say it's 4 bars, and then it goes quiet for, let's say, 2 bars, or
Yeah.
for 4 bars, whatever you want to do. So when that metronome stops, the next thing you know, you're on your own until the metronome comes back in at the end of those 2 bars. And so really, you have to depend on your internal timing.
And Steve mentioned internal clock earlier. That is so incredibly important, developing your internal clock. And he plays drums and percussion equally well. He knows about internal clock and how to keep the percussion percolating behind the drums, how to play drum set with percussion. That quiet count will really, really help your internal clock.
Great. The other thing too is your use of electronics. We got one of the questions was, do you use your V-drums for recording sessions?
Oh, yes, I definitely do. I definitely do. And I've even taken the TD4 KP to a recording session last week, and they asked, well, what am I going to get? Am I going to get, stereo out? Yeah, you'll have stereo out, and you can also you can capture MIDI. And so I've taken the drums to countless recording sessions. And we just got back from a tour with Ringo Starr's All-Star Band of New Zealand, Australia, and Japan. And the tour before this, I had the whole setup where I could trigger stuff from Billy Squire's song, The Stroke, where it would say, stroke, and it would be, and the backward snare, he called up, he says, hey, do you have a backward snare for the doom, shoom, doom, shoom? I said, well, I know how I can get it with Roland. And so we put that sound in the sampler, and boom, shot, boom, shot. So I use it for live, I use it for studio, and
That's great, Greg. And again, thanks for being here, because Greg did literally just get off a tour for a whole month, so he's very kind to share his time with us here today.
Thank you.
Greg, the other thing, why did you choose Roland for your electronic drum company?
Well, I'm just going to tell the truth because I feel Roland's the best, hands down the best. And the sounds, number one, the sounds. I just love all the sounds and all the way you can tune and muffle and do so many different things with the sounds. But the playability, the way the pads, even the gum rubber pads feel amazing. That kick drum pedal on the TD4 KP is amazing feeling. It's sturdy, it's stable. But here on the TD30, it's just out of this world with my DW double pedal here. It just feels amazing and sturdy, playable, and now portable. I just think Roland's the best.
Well, thanks, Greg. Appreciate that. And what we're going to do, Mara, is there any other viewer questions that we have?
Actually, we cover all the viewer questions that we had for Greg. What I want to do is stick around because Greg's going to do some more playing in about a minute. But I want to tell you about a couple of things going on at Guitar Center. Just a recap of what we talked about earlier. First, with the TD4 KP kit, we're offering the pedal juice, which is $150, just absolutely free. So you just pick up, you go to guitarcenter.com or in any of our stores, and then you purchase the TD4 KP, and then you get a pedal juice for free, which is awesome. Also, if you're into maybe building your own hybrid kit, such as the one that Steve was playing earlier, all those items are available at our stores. So you can either call our store or just show up there and talk to our drum experts, and they'll help you build your kit. You know, you can add a little bit or a lot. It's up to you, whatever you want to do. You know, just let them know what you're trying to accomplish, and we'll help you put it together, show you all the, all the best stuff that we have available from Roland. So moving on now, we're going to throw it back to Greg Bissonette. He's going to close with one of his solo tunes. I want to thank Greg for being here. I want to thank Steve Fisher. And on behalf of Guitar Center, thank you for showing up, logging in, and we'll see you next time. Greg?
Mariano, thank you very much, buddy. I want to thank you for inviting me here, and everybody at Roland and Steve and Drew and all the guys. I'm going to play a song right now that my brother wrote, and I got to sing. Actually, if you sing as a drummer, you will have a lot better chance of getting gigs, because the manager is going to say, that drummer sings, that drummer doesn't sing. I'll take the money I was paying the background singer out of this pocket and put it in this drummer. You got the gig, you can sing. So even if you just sing background vocals, it can really, really help. This is a song that features Doug Bossy on guitar and my brother Matt on bass, and it's called Submarine. I'm going to go back to the beginning here, though, real quick, because that's right in the middle of the song. So, hey, Steve, we're going to just go back to the beginning of this one here. And go back here. Cool, buddy. No problem. All right, brother. Thank you.
Greg,
thanks, Steve. Thanks, buddy, for having me. I was dancing to your stuff. I just want you to know that. Not well, but dancing. this evening, Submarine. No, just kidding. Thank you, Guitar Center. Thank you, Roland. Woo! See you next time. God bless.